welcome to another episode of Behind the Veil, where we deep dive into realms of high strangeness and exploring phenomena that challenge our understanding of reality. I'm your host, Mike Hughes.
And I'm your co-host, Christian Julian. And our topic for tonight is, are we on the cusp of disclosure? And if so, what would a post-disclosure world look like?
That's right, and today we are honored to have a very special guest with us, someone who has dedicated his life to unveiling the truth that has been concealed for far too long. Joining us is Steve Bassett, an extraordinary activist and a leading advocate for ending the government-imposed truth embargo on the reality of an extraterrestrial presence engaging with humanity. As the executive director of the renowned Paradigm Research Group, Steve has tirelessly championed the cause of disclosure and sought to break the shackles of secrecy surrounding this profound subject. In a world of chaotic information regarding the UFO phenomenon, personally, Steve, I have to say, you have been the voice of reason throughout the years, and you bring a deep level of sensibility and professionalism when it comes to trying to unravel this UFO subject. Steve, glad to have you here, and welcome to the show.
Appreciate the kind words, and it's great to be with you, gentlemen.
Well, it's a real honor to have you here because you've been in this game for a lot longer than we have, and your wealth of knowledge is going to be very important to us and to this show and what people are going to learn from it. Steve, you obviously have your finger on the pulse of all that's happening in D.C. regarding this UFO stuff. How do you personally interpret everything that's happening, and what do you think all of this means in hopes of a possible disclosure in the near future?
Well, first of all, you should be here in front of the camera, not me. I mean, I should be where you are.
No. You're the UFO OG. I got you here for a reason.
My presentation, right? That's exactly what I was going to say in my next 14 lectures.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm sure I may have missed something.
But the fact that you have studied it this well, that you're paying this close attention, and I'm sure Christian is doing the same, is just one more example why we're in the end game. All right, because essentially, when President Truman, God bless him, and his top security advisors, which, as we know, are soon going to include basically the founders of the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, which was formed around that same time. And thank you for this. I appreciate the full zone on this. It's very helpful to me. They had no idea that the policy that they were setting was going to still be in force 76 years later. Mm-hmm. It was July of 1947, and Truman had been informed, of course, that a vehicle, apparently one of the things that had been seen in the sky being reported in the U.S. and elsewhere for months, one of these had crashed near Roswell,
right? And
that they had obtained the wreckage or they were trying to obtain the wreckage and also bodies within the crash. He was then faced with a rather profound decision in a short amount of time to deal with it because and he was not punished. The commander of the Roswell Army Air Base, Mr. Blanchard, Captain Blanchard, Major Blanchard, got real excited and put a press release out saying, "We have one of these things."
As he should.
As he should. God bless him. And why not?
Good American.
It was another time. And trust in government was high. We had just won World War II. We were feeling good about ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
And so, wow, we got one of those vehicles.
Yeah.
And of course, I'll have to ask Don Schmidt this, but it's a good question. I never asked him, and I interviewed him recently for a program that's going to be coming out soon. Did Truman know that we had the bodies when he made the decision with Ramey to reverse the press release, or did he just know we had crashed a vehicle? Right? Don't know. And that's an easy. I think he probably did. Anyway, so they made this decision. They had no time to think about it. Mm-hmm. It was going out around the country. It was turning up in newspapers because of the press release was picked up. And if they didn't reverse it virtually immediately on July the 8th, there'd be more reporters in Roswell, New Mexico than there were citizens of Roswell, New Mexico. And they would interview everybody, including their dogs, their pets. And it would be over. It would be it. Bodies, crashed vehicle, that's what we're seeing. That's what Arnold saw. Truth embargo, no truth embargo. The world would have learned about this presence, which may have been known to a very limited number of people. As early as the 1930s, we are learning now, which doesn't shock me, and yet I am impressed that it's come out.
Yeah.
But yet, very, very limited. This was a different matter in 1947. He could not have known that 76 years later, at least up until recently, our government and every other government in the world, when asked about, are there extraterrestrials here? The answer would be, what are you talking about? This was an embargo, not a cover-up. It was an embargo. They embargoed the truth of this matter for national security reasons. It wasn't a cover-up because, one, it wasn't illegal. It was completely legal under the 1947 conveniently passed that year National Security Act. The government made a political decision in 1947, 48, 49, 50, 52, 53 that this issue had to be embargoed because of the political and national security implications of it. The same reason that they embargoed Cuba. Here's the situation, folks. I'm going to be as straightforward as I can be.
Do it.
The truth embargo on the extraterrestrial presence, non-human intelligence engaging us, is completely collapsing in real time.
I would hope so.
Right? For 76 years, basically let's go to 2017. So essentially, which was the 70th anniversary rather of Roswell. They had a big Roswell festival that year. I think I went. I'm not sure. But 2017 is when suddenly a fairly substantial crack in the dam developed, and we started seeing water spurting out.
Yeah.
And so those of us downstream have been watching that dam for some time, and it's continued to leak a little more and a little more. There's a decent amount of water heading downstream. We can see it flowing by. Yeah. All right. Well, about a few months ago, let me think now. I'm going to go back maybe 6 months, maybe 4 months. It really started to open, and now the dam is collapsed.
Wow.
And so we're staring upstream at a massive wall of water heading downstream toward us because the dam is gone. Yeah. And so it comes down to this. You can stand there and gape at it, and it will simply wash you away, or you can get to higher ground and start planning on what you're going to do after all the water has passed through.
Yeah.
Now, I'm up on higher ground. You fellas are on higher ground. My job is to help people in general, as an activist, deal with this. And I'm soon going to be back in Washington, D.C., set up again in the National Press Building with an office. And I'm going to be trying to I'm not a journalist, providing information to every single office that has uttered anything about this subject over the last couple of years. Yeah. And my targets are the member, their chief of staff, or their legislative aide to the committee that makes that's appropriate for this issue, to try to help them get to higher ground, because the dam is broke and the water has been building up for 70 years. It is bigger than Lake Mead. And if you don't get your act together, it's going to carry you away. So that's point number one. Yeah. The truth embargo has collapsed. With things developing the way they have been, I made the decision to come out to Los Angeles. I gave up temporarily my office in D.C. I will soon be back there in a very short amount of time, maybe within 10 days, and set up again in the National Press Building, just 2 blocks from the White House. And I intend to go talk to every single person on Capitol Hill that's opened their mouth about this subject, even if I have to stand out in front of the door and say, I'm not leaving until you let me in,
Yeah. Yeah.
You've talked to all my other colleague friends, so you're going to talk to me.
Do you think that the trickle effect of information from, years ago, that was kind of done on purpose? That way it would kind of curb the public's concerns or a potential panic of this kind of information being disclosed?
50-50, Julian. The fact that the extraterrestrials could do whatever they want whenever they wanted, right?
Yeah.
If they need some cow blood, they got it, right? If they want to put a crop circle down in the UK, they did it.
Yeah.
If they needed to take you up for your annual physical, you got taken up. They could do and go wherever they wanted. So given that, it was always going to be, quote, trickling out to the extent that ETs operated anything other than a completely cloaked basis. So did the government deliberately leak stuff because to acclimate us? I don't think so. I don't think that was in their self-interest at all. They already had enough trouble with the ET presence being obviously unavoidable. However, I do believe that over the years, there were numerous instances where individuals within the United States government's management of this issue made a personal decision to get something out.
Yeah.
A little document would turn up, some microfiche, whatever. But this wasn't a planned thing in order to, quote, acclimate us, but rather this was just someone inside who felt that the truth embargo essentially was not a proper policy.
Yeah.
It was the wrong policy. Maybe some of them thought it was an illegal policy. And so they would put some information out. And of course, we had witnesses that would come forward. And by and large, they were legitimate in the sense. There's very little examples of deliberate false witnesses coming forward at serving the government, right? They may use people, meaning kind of set you up so that you would go out and say something stupid, but it didn't have a cadre of people. Okay, look, you're now a witness and you're going to go forward and say this, and this in order to help manage the truth embargo. Don't see that. They had coercive policies. The men in black, as we call them, is a real thing. And their job was to keep people quiet, let people know this is national security. So obviously that's the reverse of that. So my answer to your question is no. There hasn't been a, quote, managed leak process. There has been an unavoidable leak process, right, which has made managing the truth embargo not the most fun thing to do. The government is very good at keeping secrets. They have tons of secrets. They have so many secrets and so much classified information, so many classified programs, so many people operating in classified programs that you don't even know exist, that it is a major national problem.
Yeah, and even David Grush made that statement. He's like, we are good at keeping secrets. And he said,
absolutely.
I have plenty of secrets that have never made it out to the light.
Yeah. So,
and that's a good thing sometimes.
Well, it's used as a pushback against the activist movement. Mm-hmm. Here's how the skeptics use it. There can't be ETs here, because the government can't keep secrets, and therefore we'd already know. And that's just propaganda and not true. If they're building a brand new supersonic airplane, and it's being built at a base somewhere underground, and no one even knows that base exists or that facility exists, and everybody on it is absolutely classified, that's a secret program, right? All right, without question. But in terms of the fundamental issue of the ET reality, it can't be a secret because the ETs come and go and are seen all the time. And so
they're definitely not hiding themselves, because you see them, people see them and record them all the time. I've seen them.
Yeah, exactly. This is one of the most significant political aspects of this phenomena. They have the ability to cloak, and they don't. I mean, they don't always do that. No. They do very ostentatious things. And you have to why would you do that unless you either didn't care if any of the 8 billion people down here noticed, or you wanted them to notice on the basis of common sense that there's extraterrestrials here, because that's all you need is common sense. And the whole role of government and authoritative propaganda is to strip common sense out of the public so they don't see what their lying eyes are telling them. They believe nonsense because the common sense is gone, and therefore they're vulnerable to anything. This is how it works. It works incredibly well.
I have to
And
touch
so,
base on that real quick. And one of
yeah,
the reasons why I have you on this show is because there is so much chaos of information out there. There's people who talk about, oh, that's a Palladian starship, and a lot of other, just really impossible things like there's just no way you can know that. I appreciate your creative imagination. But how throughout the years have you, and this is what I really respect about you, is that you've been so level-headed about it and you've brought sensibility and logic to a field that may not necessarily contain a lot of that because you can go so many different directions with it. How have you throughout the years stayed so grounded and focused on just facts and not letting yourself go off the reservation, so to speak?
that's a really good question. I wanted to ask that question maybe once or twice in 25 years. A great question.
Thank you.
And I'm glad that you did, because it fits perfectly in what I just discussed with you. So I already knew ETs were here. I didn't. That wasn't why I got involved. I got involved because I realized within a very short amount of time after I made the decision, this is where I want to go, why I had made that decision, right? Because so many times in life when we do things, we actually don't know the reason quite yet until a little bit later. In other words, our conscious mind is like, okay, let's do this, kind of a logical thing, A plus B equals C. But then later we realize, oh, wait a minute, there was some more variables there that caused you to take that course, and they came to me in due course. And that was this, that the policy of embargoing this information, of denying what is right in our face, of ignoring all the simple common sense, as I mentioned.
I do have to ask real quick before I forget. When Grush mentioned the Italian UFO was the first one that we ever recovered back from the 30s, that took me completely by surprise because someone who lives in this UFO echo chamber, I thought I knew a lot about that. I have to ask, was that something that you were ever aware of, at least as a rumor? Because
I'm not aware that anybody was aware of this. This was one of the
no, I've
major
never
shocks.
heard anything about that. I was just so curious. I'm like, am I the only one who's never heard of that? Have I just missed that one, on the education playing field of UFOs? But I've never heard of that particular craft. And
It's
this
not
is
hard to accept that. Look, 33, there's a vehicle. All right, it's in Europe, it's in Italy. Fascism is on the rise. A war is in the works. They got that thing, had no idea what to do with it. All right, so they stuck it in a warehouse, like in Indiana Jones.
yeah.
All right, in the Lost Ark. Sat on it. The war finally gets over, and we learn, and somehow we learn that this is there, and we're able to retrieve it. And of course, we'll learn more about that. And we would have had the app, obviously without a press release. In other words, we learned about, they've got something interesting in a vault somewhere in Rome or something, and let's go look at it. Ooh, that is interesting. Plenty of time. Take it back. Keep it cool. No press release. And so no. So, but let me tell you something. That's just the beginning of stuff you're going to be learning about soon.
Oh, this I
I
don't
assure
doubt.
you, there is. We will spend the rest of not you guys. You guys are going to live a long time. God bless you. I'm
God
going to
willing.
spend the rest of my life learning stuff like that. It is going to keep coming out and coming out. So the one thing I can guarantee, assuming we don't have a nuclear war, is the rest of the 21st century is going to be really cool.
Yeah.
Let's do this because we're almost out of time. I got one final question that I think is really important.
Yeah.
It'd be a good closer for all of this. Let's say disclosure has already happened. This is kind of a multi punch question. What if our government really doesn't have the answers? What if our government has no clue who these beings are or what their agenda is? What kind of impact is that going to have on humanity to say, we know there's something, we don't know who it is, where they're from, whether they're from here or whether they're from a different reality or a different planet? What kind of impact is that going to have on humanity to live in that unknown? And then the second part of my question is, do you actually believe that our government does not have the answers? Do you think that they're clueless? According to some, they are. I'm not sure if I buy that.
Let me see if I can answer this in a way that I think most people particularly guys, will understand. The chances of that being true is about the same as the Oakland Athletics winning the World Series in 4 straight games.
So you're saying there's a chance.
So you're saying there's a chance.
There is a cartoon. There is an image of it's actually an image. I think it's a photo that I love. I see it about every 6 weeks, and I love this. In fact, I have got to grab this and get it up on my Twitter, Facebook page. But it is a photo of a tank, right? And the tank is kind of coming. You can kind of see it. It's coming in from the right, and you've got the big gun turret standing out, and sitting on top of the gun barrel, right?
Yeah.
Is a cat wearing a helmet, right? And the caption is, okay, apparently the chances of being attacked by a cat driving a tank while slim are not 0.
Oh yeah, I've seen stuff like that before.
Yeah. Not quite 0.
The chances are slim, but not 0.
Yeah.
I assure you, when we finally learn what the government has known and does know about this issue, we're going to be very impressed, because our government, particularly the national security structures in our government, are not run by fools and idiots. They are run by some of the sharpest people in the planet. And our technology, and in terms of intelligence and surveillance and everything, is the best there is, and is incredible. And a lot of the most incredible we don't even know about yet. Yeah. And so let me tell you, we're going to spend the rest of our lives doing 2 things. Well, many things, but here are 2 of the things we'll be doing. Going back and reading all of Richard Dolan's books and everybody else's books, and watching James Fox's documentaries and everybody else's documentaries, and
Colonel
redoing the
Corso
entire citizen science evidentiary process. The historians will do it. And then the other thing we'll be doing is slowly learning, absorbing, and coming to understand what the government knows about this issue as it brings it forward in an orderly fashion, honoring certain national security issues. Some things will not be revealed for a while. Some things may never be revealed, but I am going to go, it's possible we may get it all, right? Everything in time, but for the rest of our lives, And so I call that the learning curve. It will be the greatest learning curve, global learning curve of all time. Nothing even comes close to it. Where the entire planet goes to school. To school, and the school is the school of extraterrestrial reality. And there will be departments set up at universities around the world. Professors will be lining up in droves to belong to them. And the whole world, and the reason it's the greatest learning curve of all time is not only the subject, but the fact that everybody can study it right here on this computer here. In other words, everybody's got access to the information. The whole world will be able to learn together. It will be the greatest learning curve of history. And as that learning curve is ascending, right, on this really steep curve, 2 years out, that's my guess, that's when the ETs go open contact and go, sorry about those late night visits. Had some things we had to do.
Sorry about that, Cal.
That was for us. Okay, I know some of you are upset. Life can be difficult, but you've put up with a lot of other things. You know what it's like. Sorry about that. We're not doing that anymore, but we need to talk to you. Your planet, your representatives, about a couple of matters that actually are an issue, which is one of the reasons why we have been backing this whole process from day one. It's one of the reasons why we let ourselves be seen all the time, put crop circles down, give messages to contactees and school children while they're out playing in their schoolyards. That's one of the reasons we're doing all of that. It's one of the reasons we've been turning off our nuclear weapons. There's our weapons, your weapons. So there's a few things we need to talk about, open contact. That's what I'm living for. That's what I'm going to do everything I can to survive to see. Right? I'm not taking any chances. I'm turning down all skydiving coupons I get in the mail. One free skydive, right? Come out. I look both ways when I want, and always keep attention to my 6. I got to live to see this.
Open contact is coming, I believe, 2 years from disclosure. And maybe the government's always known that, which is one of the reasons why they have said, let's just hold off a little bit longer. Okay. You know, they started tuning off our nukes in the 60s. Kind of a clear message, right?
Yeah.
So the government might have wanted to move sooner. Don't know. It wasn't that we didn't have enough scientific evidence confirming the presence of these extraterrestrials, or non-human intelligence, as people want to say, because they just can't bring themselves to think you can get from one star to another. Therefore, there must be some other explanation, like time travel, interdimensional passaging back and forth, or they've been living in the center of the earth all these years. Whatever. They're extraterrestrials as far as I'm concerned. But one of the questions I will ask if I get the opportunity will be, did the prospect of open contact affect the decision to keep the truth embargo going on probably quite a bit longer than it should have? Be an interesting question, but somebody will ask it. And so that's where we're headed, folks. 2 years, that will be 2025. Plan on your celebrations, stock up, champagne, snacks, all the good stuff.
All right. Well, you're coming back on the podcast whenever that happens, and we're going to talk about it.
Available. By the way, if we get disclosure, okay, I make you this solemn promise.
Oh, here we go.
I'm not going to go Hollywood. All right. I am suddenly not going to be available except through my assistant. I will not stop returning text messages, right? Or putting out form email. So glad you got in touch. We'll get back to you. No, my allegiance post-disclosure will be first and foremost to all of the people that have served this issue and struggled for this truth, going all the way back, the ones that are still alive. And after they have gotten whatever the hell they need, I'll be happy to chat with the networks and whatever the hell else wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
But my allegiance is with, and my devotion is with the people that.
That's awesome.
Some of these UFO researchers are going to become quite celebrities once all this happens, because the media is going to go.
I don't want to point it. I'm just saying, I'm not going there.
Yeah.
Right.
You're a humble man. You're a humble man.
You call me up. You call me up post disclosure. You need me on for a quickie. No problem. We'll there.
Do that.
I'll do that. Set up my computer.
We're going to take your word on it, because you're going to see it, my friend. Because
the post disclosure world succeeds if the activism and the change that takes place is on a global scale.
Yeah.
We've long gone past the point where if one country will get our act together, the rest of the world will follow suit. That ain't going to happen, folks. Yeah. It is not going to happen. And we live in a world now where the smallest little countries, some of them, could trigger a nuclear war tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And then you've got the non-state operators who, if they get their hands on a nuke, would be happy to blow something up just to watch it happen. And so we have got to have a global activist a situation post-disclosure, and that is when these entities come in. So, hey, Elon, I'm promoting Twitter. Send me a roadster or something, please. Thank you.
And make sure to follow Steve Bassett on Twitter.
Yes, please. Yeah.
At Steve Bassett. I need followers, folks. God, what's holding you back?
We're going to help you out on that one. We're going to do our best.
Okay, guys.
We're not Joe Rogan yet, but we're on our way, hopefully. Steve, thank you so much.
Thank you.
No disrespect meant to Joe Rogan. I assure you, praise be upon him.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
I'm looking forward to doing his show. I did one of his early shows. Waiting for that call back. Hasn't come yet.
Joe, give him a call. All right, Steve, thank you so much. You've been so generous with your time.
Thank you.
I literally have like 50 other questions I need to ask you, but Mama's going to be mad if I don't get off here and go cook her dinner. But thank you so much. It is a pleasure to have you on. You've given us lots of good insight to think about, and thank you so much for all the work that you've done over the years. You really are a true hero and an asset to the disclosure movement.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
We appreciate you.
You two clearly are different guys. Okay, I mean, we're talking about two starkly different settings here. All right.
Yeah. He's dark. I'm bright.
He's got the coloring. He's got the tone. He's got a certain style.
He's Mr. Cool.
And you're like, Hulk Hogan kind of thing going. I mean, I'm looking for the weight room back there.
Well, it's my wife's art studio. I want to put some cool, because actually Christian's background, I love like the LED lighting in the palm. So I actually want to put some LED lighting back here to kind of give it a much more
Well,
exotic
it's great
look.
that you two get along, but I'll tell you something. I am committed to not do any of those. What do they call them? Screen things? You know,
Oh,
the
green
image
screens?
things
Oh,
stick in.
Yeah.
I'm determined. I'm going to go authentic. This is really my bedroom. That's London. Wait a minute, London on that side, and that's
Yeah.
Amsterdam on that side. Been there. I do need a better camera. I'll work on
Well, I'm working on a better camera too. I think we all need better
it.
cameras.
All right, gentlemen.
Thank you so much, sir. God bless you, and I hope that we get to celebrate disclosure all together, even if we're not speaking to each other at the moment it happens. But as a world in unity, I hope we all live to see that day. So thank you so much, Steve, and we really appreciate your time.
All right, guys.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that's it,
Bye.
guys. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
See you.